Okay, this is going to be a very awkward video. So in the past 2, 3 days, I have had a massive flare up in my depression. And I don't know if talking about it is going to make it worse again. Um, we shall see, but hopefully it can provide some context to some people or some understanding so that if you go through the same thing, you can get through it. I hope to be on the other end of it now. My the way I experience depression comes in like the last one that I had was actually just after I got my COVID vaccine. I got very ill and I had a massive spike in it at that point. I'll talk about a bit about what depression is and what it isn't. It's not feeling sad, which I think a lot of people who don't have experience with sort of clinical diagnosable depression it's not an emotional state. For me, it manifests as an all encompassing overwhelming hopelessness. It is the realization that you will never be happy again, that nothing could ever make you happy. You suddenly realize something about who you are, about the world, about what's going on, that makes nothing worth anything. You are worth nothing. It, and it takes more willpower than I can conceptualize to just keep going. I went to the cinema yesterday. I don't even like going to the cinema. These two guys who talked to me. They were a bit drunk. One of them might have been high. They were asking me for £5 because they wanted to get a bagel from a nearby restaurant, and I gave them a tenner because I thought that I wouldn't need it. It's it feels like a hole has opened, like at the deepest part of it. I felt a physical pain in the left side of my chest constantly, and I was wailing in the car on the way back home. It is agonizing. And the one thing that I want to impress upon people, the only way that I know to navigate it, and it doesn't help, but it might, I guess. The only way that I have been able to push through it prior times and this time is to confront it logically. I have been happy before. I can be happy again. But I don't know how to conceptualize that it is a realization that that is what depression is. It's a realization that you will never be happy again, that you are worth nothing, and you can't think your way out of that. It just doesn't work because the symptoms of depression are a realization that you are worthless and that you will never be happy again. That is the symptom. Depression is the disease, the lack of function of your brain, whatever it might be, but the symptom, the way it manifests, maybe not for everyone, but certainly for me, the way it manifests is not in any way conventional. It's not like any other disease or broken bone or anything like that. You suddenly realize that everything is worthless and you just want to die. You just want to end so that you don't have to go through that overwhelming hopelessness. And I can't conceptualize to people how hard it is to just keep going. But I mean, coming sort of hopefully getting to the other side of it now, I do want to impress upon people the importance of keeping moving. I'm autistic. I hate going out. I hate social situations. I went out to the cinema so that I was doing something, so that I could look at other people who weren't in the state that I was, so that I wasn't just by myself. If it kept going the way it was, my next step would have been to reach out to my GP. I'm very blessed to live in the UK where I could get immediate healthcare for severe depression. I took 2 of my antidepressants, which was probably a foolish thing to do, but I would have done anything at that point. If I was in Switzerland and there was a suicide death chamber there, I would have happily laid my ass in it and just gone away. You just keep going. And there's no virtue in that. There's no reward in the moment. You don't get anything back from fighting yourself. You can't see past the walls of depression when you're in it. I'm blessed to have YouTube videos that I honestly couldn't bring myself to watch, but I could think about remembering those videos and remembering me being happy and laughing. And as I say, the only thing that kept me going, and I can never watch my videos where I've talked about depression. Even when I'm healthy, I can't watch them. But I remember talking about it before and it being the same thing. An overwhelming, all-encompassing hopelessness manifesting as a realization that I'd never be happy, that I was worthless, and that life wasn't worth living. And I'm able to recognize that, as little as it helps, I'm able to recognize that as a symptom of depression, not as what it feels like, which is that realization, is so hard to realize that your mind is lying to you. That you imagine realizing something like, oh, except you're not realizing in a conventional way. You've suddenly noticed that life isn't worth living. And there's no new information that's been given to you. There's nothing that's prompted it. Nothing has happened except suddenly you realized all these things. And to fight yourself to the point where you have to literally convince yourself that you are lying. Because factually, some deep part of you knows that, as I say, your very thoughts are a symptom of a disease that you are suffering. So hard to deal with. I don't want to ramble for too long, but I really want to impress upon people there may come a time where you suddenly realize that life is not worth it, that everything's pointless, that you know nothing's worth anything, there's no value in anything. And I want you to hear me when I say that though that realization, those feelings are a symptom of a disease that you are affected with. That is what depression is. You have not made a realization. That's not what's happened. You have depression. And your realization, your thoughts, your outlook are not real. They are a symptom of a condition that you are suffering, and it is temporary. And you must go through it. You do not take the easy way out. You do not take a cowardly way out. You keep going. Even when you know for absolute certain that it will never end, that you've realized all these things. You need to have your mind master your emotions. And it is the hardest thing you will ever do. And I don't know whether it was harder this time or whether it was harder last time. Because, and this is one of the reasons I'm recording this video now, is because depression looks so different looking in at it or looking back at it. Even as someone who's suffered depressive phases multiple times now, I can't adequately conceptualize the depths that it drags you to. But it is temporary. It will end, and you can be happy again. You have been happy before. You can be happy again. And you cannot be happy if you are dead. Thank you very much, everyone, for listening. I appreciate you. Please do share if you've had experience with depression in the past, if you're willing to share that. I'm sure it would be helpful to people. You just gotta keep going.